Edinburgh is the historical, cultural, and political capital of Scotland. Edinburgh was born on this bluff, a big rock where the castle now stands. Built as a military parade ground in 1816, the Esplanade is now the site of the annual military tattoo.
Tattoo? You want to know the site of my military tattoo? It's on my...
Lisa, let's do it later, okay?
Okay.
The tattoo I'm talking about is a spectacular massing of the bands. It fills the square nightly for most of August. They set up temporary bleachers where up to 9,000 fans can watch kilt-wearing bagpipers marching against a spectacular backdrop of the castle. TV crews from around the world broadcast the spectacle to all corners. When the bleachers are not up, the Esplanade provides fantastic views of the surrounding city. And there's no better introduction to this slice of Scotland than a walk straight down the spine of the old town, from the castle to the palace. A stretch appropriately called the Royal Mile. This neighborhood was built in the 1700s as growing Edinburgh expanded outward from the Royal Mile. At the bottom of the Esplanade, where the square hits the road, pause for a second. On the left, find a tiny fountain in the wall. The plaque above it memorializes 300 women who were accused of witchcraft. If you were accused of witchcraft, they put you to the test. You'd be tied up and dropped into the Norloch. That's the swampy lake at the base of the castle. If you sank and drowned, you were innocent. That proved it. If you floated, you must have special powers, and they figured you were a witch. So they brought you here, in front of the castle, and burned you.
Yikes.
Scotland burned more witches per capita than any other country, an estimated 4,000 men and women between 1563 and 1728. The plaque shows 2 witches, one good and one bad. If you tickle the serpent's snout, it shows that you sympathize with the witches.
Is that tickle thing really true?
Nah, I'm just messing with you.
Messing with me? Nemo impune lacessit.
All right, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Across the street, filling the old Castle Hill Primary School, is a gimmicky, if intoxicating, whiskey sampling exhibit called the Scotch Whisky Experience.
I've heard it called Malt Disney.
Well, you sure leave feeling goofy. At the end of the block is the Tollbooth Church. This impressive neo-Gothic structure from 1844 has the tallest spire in the city. These days, it's home to the Hub, Edinburgh Festival's ticket and information centre. Over the course of this walk, you'll pass by no end of traditional Scottish clichés, whiskey tastings, kilt shops, bagpipe-playing buskers, and gimmicky tours about Scotland's bloody history and ghost stories. These cultural clichés aren't necessarily from Edinburgh. They come from all over Scotland. But culturally, Edinburgh has always been the place where lowland culture, which was urban and more English, met the Highlands. The Highlands are just north of Edinburgh. That's the rugged and rustic world of Gaelic kilt-wearing bagpipe players that we've come to associate with all of Scotland. During the Royal Mile's heyday in the 1600s, this intersection in front of the church was filled with bustle, hustle, and lots of commerce. It was called Lawnmarket, that is, the marketplace where they sold lawn, meaning produce or linen. See that round white hump in the middle of the roundabout? That's all that remains of the official weighing beam called the Buttertron, where goods were weighed for honesty and tax purposes. Now, let's start strolling slowly down Lawnmarket, along the left side of the street. Back in the vibrant 1600s, this was the city's main street. Edinburgh bustled with breweries, printing presses, and banks. Tens of thousands of citizens were squeezed into the narrow confines of the old town. Because this strip of land is so narrow, there was no way to build but up. So this street was lined with multi-story residences called tenements or lands. Some of these rose up 10 stories and more. The living arrangements shocked class-conscious English visitors to Edinburgh. That's because the tenements were occupied by rich and poor alike, usually the poor in the cellars and up in the attics, and the rich in the more comfortable middle floors. The best look at a surviving tenement is Gladstone's Land at number 477B on the left. It dates from 1617. Stand in front of Gladstone's Land and look up. That's a 17th century skyscraper. It had the typical layout, a shop on the ground floor with columns and an arcade, and residences above.
Extended. So what we're in right now is actually the extension that he had built in 1617. That's the original external wall just there. And being here was pretty much the best part of Edinburgh you could be, because you were near the cathedral, you were near the castle, and you weren't in the really cramped areas of Edinburgh just further along. Edinburgh was very much bounded by the city walls, so the structure and layout of Edinburgh is rather different from what we have today. Very cramped, very crowded. Hello.
Back then, windows were expensive and didn't open. That's why the lower halves were wood, cheaper and able to swing out like shutters for ventilation and conveniently tossing out garbage. You can pay admission to go inside Gladstone's Land. If you do, you'll climb up tight spiral staircases to see the tenement's small rooms, a kitchen, bedroom, parlor, and so on. They're filled with period furnishings, most of it reconstructed. For a good photo of the Royal Mile, climb the curved stairway outside the museum and look downhill. Notice the snoozing pig just outside the front door. Just like every house today has a vacuum cleaner, in the good old days, a snorting rubbish collector was a standard feature of any well-equipped house.
I love mine.
Back in the 1600s, Gladstone's Land was just one of many tenements squeezed into this narrow strip of land.